This is a message from your guides reading for the child. And I only have 2 crystals this time that I pulled for this reading. So one is my Tiger's Eye Jasper. So this is a really grounding stone. It also helps to protect your energy from things that you're picking up on, like empathically, which makes sense because grounding kind of naturally does that. And then I have my Fuchsite here. So this is a heart chakra stone. So definitely heart opening and helping to heal the heart, but also heal other various situations. And it also helps with gaining past life information and helping you to know how to clear something, how to heal something. So those are the 2 stones for this reading. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and use my Tiger's Eye Jasper to surround us in some protective space. Okay, so right now your guides are going over some more affected areas. So, the back of your head here. So I may have talked about this in some of your readings. I don't know if I have. I've spoken about this in different readings where it came up for different people. So all around your head and face are a lot of different channels for psychic activity, basically, for picking up on guides and relevant information, and also picking up on other people's energies when we're conversing with them. Um, it's also, there are also channels even where we're putting out our own energy input as well. But a lot of this happens here. Obviously, not all of it, but a lot of it does. A lot of it happens in this cranial area. So here in the back of your head, this area is, it feels like there are a lot of attachments here to some different, it just feels like a lot of different voices, so different thought forms kind of are attached to this area and kind of use this area. It almost feels like to kind of attack you, kind of overwhelm you. So this feels like an area that really needs to be cleaned out, for one, but then also it needs to be, well, a lot of things. It needs to be cleaned out, it needs to be repaired, it needs to be healed, but it also needs to be closed off. And I was going to say closed off, and then all of a sudden that totally popped out of my head, and then they were saying all these other things. So in that case, my head needed to go blank there because before you can close it off, you want to clean out all that stuff. You want to clean it, you want to repair it, you want to heal it before you close it. But right now, this is feeling like an area that is too open. It even feels like to other people's suggestions, even. So then that causes you to have a lot of beliefs from other people and things that they've said to you or things that they've done to you, even like ways that they've even kind of, like if somebody looks at you the wrong way, or they hold something towards you that they're putting out, again, energetically, you're picking up on it, but they're not really verbally harassing you. Just more behavior, body language, tone, and even like an icy feeling people can come across with sometimes, or just different emotions they can be exuding. Sometimes this, you can take it personally, even when it's not even about you or towards you. They're mad about something else, and then they're just talking to you after. So they're going to be exuding some of that and some of those behaviors. But then obviously sometimes people can judge other people. And you can sense it, and these are the areas where we sense all those things from. But they're saying that the only reason that you would have worries about what other people think in your case is because of so much um, past life, past lifetime stuff where you've been abused, where you've been attacked, where you've been hurt because of things that people are thinking and because of things that they're doing towards you and whatever they're putting out towards you. And then the more that that victim kind of energy built up, then the more that it was there to attract even more of those types of people and circumstances. And that's what karma is. It's just a buildup of an energy that needs to be released. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you've done something wrong or right, even. It just means this general energy that you're carrying throughout your lifetimes and what has collected in your auric field to attract certain things and circumstances. And then also based off of that, what lessons you need to learn. What do you need to incorporate to better yourself? What do you need to release and let go of to improve? And then just in general, just what have you not learned yet? So there's a lesson there that the victim energy has to offer. Several, really. No, it feels like what they're saying is that in this reading, I'm just going to use initials. Okay, so in this reading, they're wanting to talk more about B than D. As far as past lives and karmic stuff. So D, it feels like you've had a few lifetimes with. It feels like a couple of them have come up for you where you know what they are. Then it feels like sometimes it's almost like we need stories to release something. So sometimes when a person has a session, normally if they're doing a past life regression and let's say one lifetime comes up, or even two lifetimes come up, most of that is generally accurate. And it's not really about accuracy. Okay, so most of that happened. In other words, most of that is a past lifetime that your mind is traveling to and referring to. But other times it feels like, especially if this is like longer and it's going into multiple things, it's like your mind doesn't always know how to process all of those things and it's trying to clear something. And so sometimes it tries to almost clear it with things that it can deliver in a way that are relevant to now. This is what you need to learn. This is what you need to know about this person. This is the types of things that he has done, that he's capable of doing. This is someone that you need to incorporate into your experience more. Or this is someone that you would learn a valuable lesson by getting away from. You need to set a boundary with this person. So when I was reading the email, I did get this distinct feeling when I read that question, like some of these lifetimes that you were seeing were more like your mind is, again, it's like, it's not a negative thing. It's just stories where your mind is trying to deliver different messages to you that need to be gotten to you. And then there are others that actually happened as actual lifetimes with the person. So it feels like stay away from this person was definitely a message that was coming in. So your guides were saying that you were right to ignore the person. And you're right to set a boundary with that person. They're also saying that love really means loving yourself first. Because when you love yourself, then that's the love that you show to others. It has to do with the level that you love yourself and that you value yourself and how worthy you feel. And then you'll treat other people more worthy. So obviously this person is not feeling those ways about themselves. But they're saying that's neither here nor there. That doesn't really matter. They're also saying that a lot of times love can almost be seen as like a weakness to people. Like in our society, a lot of times we're taught that love is weak, and we should be angry, and we should be defensive, and all of these things. And they're saying that true love isn't weak. But at the same time, they're saying that there is something valid with our society seeing love in that way at times, and that it can get kind of tricky because there is this sort of false love where you're allowing abuse because you feel like you're supposed to love the person. And they're saying that that isn't love at all, and that is very weak. That's not setting up like a strong boundary. So that's allowing your defenses to be down and allowing abuse to continue and different behaviors to continue towards yourself from that person. And so then that person sees you as weak. They see you as this target, and they can keep doing it. So again, they're saying that you were right to ignore the person. And it feels like for the time being, it's better to ignore the person. Because they're also saying that they're not worth your time. And it feels almost like they're just contacting you out of their own guilt. They almost like they need redemption and they need to feel better. But it feels like the abuse is going to continue in some way because it also feels like they're never going to fully look at themselves. They're still always going to try and blame you for how you're acting and how you've reacted and responded to different things that they've done. And they're still going to try and trigger you, it feels like. So it feels like this is not a person to ever be around or talk to unless you are extremely clear. And unless your intuition is telling you that when you are extremely clear. Otherwise, it feels like you're just sort of giving into this manipulative energy. So they're saying that that's what they have to say about D, and that's more about present stuff. But again, they're saying with B, that's who they more want to get into the past life stuff with, karmic attachment stuff with. Because it does feel like that's where some of this started. Even if in this lifetime, it feels like he hasn't played as big of a role, obviously, as in other past lifetimes. You're married, you're with a partner who obviously isn't this person. So it feels like they've had to play a less significant role, maybe even than they would have wanted to. But this just has to do with patterns of lifetimes. So the fact that you're with someone else who's much better suited for you and your energy and almost your requirements as a soul to learn certain valuable lessons, to go through certain things together where you can learn from one another. It feels like you've completely removed certain attachments to this other person just by doing that, karmically speaking. But other attachments are still there. Okay, and they're saying that this brings us back to the other reading. because subconsciously you don't know what happened. Or sorry, consciously you don't know what happened. So it's like your I keep switching those two, your subconscious mind almost yearns to gain approval from the person who was abusing it before. No, not so much with D. And why is that? That's because it's more present. You remember it. You see it very clearly. You see it in a very certain way. It was very obvious. And they are a manipulator, but they made it more obvious what they were doing. It was extremely obvious to you because of the type of abuse and the way that they were being towards you. Now, they're saying that emotional abuse can be trickier, or like mental slash emotional abuse. They're saying that can be very, very tricky. That can be downgraded by the person experiencing it as to something not abusive at all. Or even where they feel like it's them, not the other person. It can be downgraded, it can be misinterpreted. Now, physical abuse, on the other hand, that's not only very hard to deal with and process, but there's also basically no other way to process it. So it has to be processed in some way. Now, emotional and mental abuse, they're saying, almost doesn't always have to be processed. Sometimes the person doesn't really realize what they're processing, or they don't understand the patterns that they're in, or the patterns that that person is putting them through. And especially not if they're used to something much worse from the person and from other people as well. Okay, but still talking about B, it feels like this person has had problems. Now, I don't know if this is referring to this lifetime, past lifetimes only, this lifetime only, but they're also talking about things like alcohol or substance abuse. And they're saying that there's a lot of energy that you can collect from that, where you can be very abusive. Even they're talking about physically striking other people, but this definitely feels like this is going to past lifetimes. But they're saying that if you look very closely, you can see this in the person. They're saying that it is obvious, it is there, it's just more subtle because they were more of a manipulator, and so they hid things more. They weren't being as obvious, but it was still obviously there. When you see it clearly, but it's just difficult to see clearly when there are so many lifetimes with the person that sort of cloud things and disfigure things in a way. And almost make your subconscious sort of yearn for a different behavior, because again, it wants to see this sort of approval that it needs. So that's why it's very important to give yourself the approval and to learn how to do that. And they're saying that that's really what this dependency thing that they've talked about so many times, that's what it really goes back to. It really goes back to needing approval from this other person. It feels like, especially because, again, this almost feels like a root. It feels like, it almost feels like the first person who acted this way. Again, this is B that they're talking about. Now, you attract other people with a similar type of energy, similar types of imbalances based off what you've seen when that's what's in your energy field. And you haven't really cleared all that out yet. Then you can attract it from other sources as well. And then even people who aren't doing that to you, you can sort of observe them that way. You can see them as the source of something. And there's even a feeling like sometimes with your current partner, sometimes that happens as well, where you're just actually not seeing one another clearly. I think they've even brought that up before during a reading. And it's not actually that one of you is doing something to the other or vice versa. It's more just you're not hearing something correctly, you're not understanding something, and you're sort of retaliating almost based off your own projections. And with this, they're not only referring to you, they're referring to both of you. And it feels like you've had some similar lifetimes, although it feels like he has had less of that. He's had less of sort of physical abuse lifetimes. He's had less abuse than you've had. But still, some of that is definitely there. And then some of his own failure and frustration, even from this lifetime as well. But seeing clearly, you would know that this person loves you, that they understand you. And it feels like that they're always working for you rather than working against you or trying to undermine you. So it feels like this person genuinely wants the best for you. And they may not always know how to deliver that, and you may not always know how to deliver that to them. But they're certainly trying. And it's a very different energy from these other two. And they're saying, your guides are saying that you definitely chose accurately in terms of partner, in terms of the person that you were going to be with, that you were going to be closest with. And they're saying that it's very important to choose an ally that you're closest with and somebody who matches your energy the most in a positive way. And they're saying, and even in some ways a negative way, but not in an abusive way. In a negative way, meaning they have some of your same issues that they can reflect back to you, but even that is seen as positive ultimately, because of the amount of growth that can be produced from that type of relationship versus the others. Versus they're sort of imposing these same behaviors on you and patterns on you. Okay, so that is all that your guides have to say for this reading. Thank you very much for allowing me to do this reading for you. As always, I hope that it benefits you, and I will see you in the next one. Namaste.